Welcome back. So here we go, right? Seattle. How you feeling, Seattle? So this is the season preview, the first season preview for Seattle. Remember back when Vegas, when a lot of us were going, 28 wins would be pretty good. They got more than 28 wins that first year, and it feels like Seattle. A lot of the things that I hear being said about Seattle and how they're not going to be very good, they're very similar to the things that were said about Vegas before they went on that incredible run in 2017, 2018. Nobody said, "Oh, this team's going to be awesome. They're going to go to a final." No, it wasn't happening. So for Seattle, the expectations may be higher, but there are still people doing victory laps on the idea that this team just isn't good enough. Now, of course, doing a preview for this is easy because last 3 years, not applicable. Last season, also not applicable. Exits? What exits? What? So, like, Vanacek, Pitlick, never scored a goal, never made a save for the team. And new faces, all of them. They're all new faces. Everybody. So, going to be able to sell some programs in Seattle. Nobody buys programs anymore. They're all handed out at the door. So, yeah. The interesting thing with this team is this is a team that can score. So, I put a blue asterisk next to everybody I think could get 20 goals this year, keeping in mind that there will be teams that really benefit from getting this opportunity they might not have got with the team that had them before. And, yeah. So, there you go. And, of course, I'm wearing a Seattle Metropolitans sweater that I got from Abbotsford. I got questions about where I get it from. It's Abbotsford. Now, this logo is kind of a throwback to this on some level. That's why they picked the logo they did. Because I've seen a lot of complaints about the logo, but it's meant to be, it's definitely new. It's something different, but it also harkens back to the original S. So their forward group looks pretty good. Jaden Schwartz last year, 40 games, 8 goals, 8 goals, 13 assists, 21 points. He's capable of getting 20 goals, 40 points. Absolutely. Wenberg had a pretty good year, 56 games, 17 goals, 12 assists, 29 points. He can hit 20 goals as well. Jordan Eberle, 55 games, 16 goals, 17 assists, 33 points. And yes, also capable of 20 goals, maybe 25. So if that was their first line, and if that scores them 60, 65 goals, I think honestly, you're quite happy with that, right? So then the rest of the group, you've got McCann, 43 games, 14 goals, 18 assists, 32 points, capable of 20 goals. Yarncroke, 49 games, 13 goals, 15 assists, 28 points, also capable. And so now you've got two lines that can score. Donskoy, 51 games, 17 goals, 14 assists, 31 points. So there's no superstar player in that top six, but they're all capable NHLers, and they're all hard workers. So you've got a hard-working bunch that, since the expansion draft, have all said the right things about coming in and playing well and what they're going to do for the team and all that other wonderful stuff. And I think there may very well still be deals to be had between now and opening night. This may very well end up being a little different, especially on the blue line. We'll see if it is, though. Tanev, 32 games, 7 goals, 9 assists, 16 points. I think Seattle fans are going to love Tanev, and not just for his mugshot, but for his play and for his heart and for his effort. Geeky, 36 games, 3 goals, 6 assists, 9 points. He's going to get more ice time in Seattle than he was going to get in Carolina. Appleton, love Mason Appleton, 56 games, 12 goals, 13 assists, 25 points. And yes, I put an asterisk there because I think he is capable of hitting the 20-goal mark, especially now on a brand new team. He's going to get the opportunity that he didn't get in Winnipeg. Johansson, who was signed, 36 games, 6 goals, 8 assists, 14 points. We'll see where he slots in. I don't think Marcus Johansson ends up being that low down. I think this lineup is going to change quickly. Nathan Bastian, 41 games, 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points. And Colin Blackwell, 47 games, 12 goals, 10 assists, 22 points. We'll see whether or not last season was indicative of the kind of performance we can expect from him going forward offensively. But again, heart, effort, drive, it's all there. And they really didn't go with like old players either. So I think Seattle's done a good job of building a forward group that can compete. Of course, Yanni Gourd's going to start the season on the injured list. 56 games for him last year, 17 goals, 19 assists, 36 points. We will see how Yanni Gourd responds to being in a more prominent role as well as soon as he comes back. True was brought in from San Jose, 7 games, 1 assist for him. Tworinsky only played 7 games last year, no points. And Cole Lind from Vancouver, 7 games for the Canucks last year, no points for him. It's a good forward group. But let's move on to the defense now, where I think, again, they're NHL level defensemen. That's really all you want as an expansion team. Can I have some NHL level talent? Which expansion teams in the 90s would have killed for. They would have absolutely loved to say, hey, our 23-man roster on opening night, it's going to be NHL level players, but you couldn't say that about every expansion team in the 90s. Giordano leads the way, 56 games, 9 goals, 17 assists, 26 points. The offense may not be what it was a couple years ago, but he is still a capable veteran and may very well provide the same role for Seattle that Doug Wilson did for San Jose early on in their existence. Larson, 56 games, 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points. It's all defense with Larson. Alexiak, 56 games, 6 goals, 8 assists, 14 points. I'm going to come out and say it. Alexiak could score 15 goals in a season if he drives to the net the way he did at points last year for Dallas. I don't think he does, but I'd be very entertained if he did. Dunn, 43 games, 6 goals, 14 assists, 20 points for him. Vince Dunn is a legitimate top 4 defenseman in the National Hockey League. Soucy, 50 games, 1 goal, 16 assists, 17 points. Don't underrate Soucy either. Hayden Fleury, 47 games, 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points. So far in Hayden Fleury's career, I've been underwhelmed at the NHL level, but Seattle gives him a fresh start and that opportunity, as I've said, for other players. Lauzon, 41 games, 1 goal, 7 assists, 8 points. Going to miss him in Boston. He's a good defensive defenseman who also has some mobility and some offense there too. Cholowski, 16 games, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points for Detroit. Connor Carrick, 11 games, 1 goal, 1 assist, and Borgen with 10 games, no points. Cale Fleury did not make an appearance last year for the Montreal Canadiens. And then in net, and the goaltending is really going to drive this season and whether or not they're in that playoff hunt or potentially in the playoffs, right, in the Pacific, or they just fall out. So Grubauer should be the starter. He had a .923 save percentage, 1.95 goals against. Elite numbers, but people will say, well, that was in Colorado. Right, sure, but he's still elite numbers. Drieger, really good numbers for him as well in Florida. 2.07 goals against to go with a .927 save percentage. And, the playoffs were an adventure when it came to who was going to be in net for Florida. And that was right around where you realized, hey, so Knight's ready, so Drieger's going to go out then. Decord, coming over from Ottawa, .897 save percentage, 3.28 goals against. I like the kid. I hope he succeeds. Keep in mind, too, that there are cases where some of these guys may be going through waivers to get sent down before the season starts. I don't know how accurate or how active teams are going to be picking guys up off waivers, but Seattle also will be looking to pick guys up on waivers. I really don't think this is how the lineup's going to look on opening night. I think it's still basically Ron Francis is willing to play the long game and willing to wait things out. I think it'll be completely different to the way Vegas has done things. Vegas, the way they run things has been, we want that player, we'll get him done. And I think for Seattle, I think Francis is like, all right, we're gonna wait it out. Which again, we'll see how that goes for them, right? So prospects, obviously their number 2 draft pick this year, Matty Beniers, is the top prospect. Going back to Michigan, that's the right call, I think, for Beniers. Riker Evans was a surprise pick where they got him, but they have some faith in him, so we'll see how long it is before Riker Evans ends up in the conversation. And yeah, we'll see how things turn out for them. I have them predicted as 5th in the Pacific. I honestly, and that's conservative. I honestly thought about maybe putting him in 4th, but I thought, no, 5th, I'll put him ahead of the 3 California teams. And we'll see. And it's a conservative pick on my part. They are 50-1 odds for the Stanley Cup, which are kind of long odds, but when you look at some of the teams they're ahead of, it's alarming, isn't it? It's alarming that this is a team that hasn't played a game yet, and yet their odds of winning the Stanley Cup are better than a handful of teams in the National Hockey League. So I know that will build resentment. If Seattle gets off to a really fast start, that won't help either. And they start the season with a 5-game road trip. So while they're finishing up the arena, they want to make sure they've got plenty of time to get that done. Their preseason games are not being played in the arena either. And so they start off on the road on the 12th. Opening night, they're in Vegas. Then 2 nights later, they're in Nashville. So those are 2 tough barns to play in to start your season. Then they go to Columbus on the 16th. They go to Philadelphia on the 18th. And then the next night, they're in New Jersey. So That is 5 games over a 7-day period, or 8-day period, 12th to the 19th. And that's not an easy road trip. And then they come home 4 days later on the 23rd. They open up their arena with a game against the Vancouver Canucks. So looking forward to that. That should be great. On the 26th, they're then at home against Montreal. Minnesota comes in on the 28th. And then on Halloween, they're at home against the New York Rangers. So if they have a good road trip, if they win 3 out of 5 on that road trip to start the season, and if they can build on the energy from their fans at home, things could get really interesting. Because again, if Seattle gets off to a really fast start, the theories about how, well, this is the NHL again, they're rigging it in favor of a brand new team, and this isn't fair, and back in the 90s these teams had to suffer. Those teams suffering in the 90s, it didn't help. And so I think the NHL learned its lesson that you've got to give an expansion team a chance to have a decent roster out of the gate. And I think they've done so. And I mean, looking at the team they've put together, there are a few teams that are really going to miss the players that were picked up. But most of them are players that, yes, other teams can replace them when they get taken. So I think Seattle's done a pretty good job of putting a team together. And I'll be fascinated to see how many games they win this year. I'm going to ballpark it at like 36, maybe 37 wins this year. That's definitely much higher than I was predicting for Vegas, because Vegas. So with Seattle, when the expectations are higher, I've been calling that the Vegas effect, because that's the only reason why an expansion team would have expectations, is because people would look at what Vegas did and say, hey, so Vegas proved that these new expansion exposure and pick requirements, it's going to give them a better team. And we'll see if that's the case. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.